Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of actually the late night edition episode of Where's My Riddling? Change the tone, smooth, keeping it. So how you doing, Shae? How you doing? You all right?
Okay, so first I just want to say to everybody, hi, and you're seeing me at my worst because I
I knew you
couldn't
could
be
do
bothered to
this.
do my hair. Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to do my hair. I literally ran and got a scarf for my head because I really want to do this pod today. But also, I look like a wildebeest. I look like Where's All
Okay,
Family.
we're not gonna tear women down International Women's Day. We're not gonna do that. You look
Oh
absolutely
my God,
fine.
I'm just letting you
This
know.
is
I'm
this is the
just
late
letting you
this
know.
is the late edition. Doesn't watch that. We've just watched the Harry and Meghan interview. She looks glorious, resplendent, and the head, and the hair looks great. And love the headscarf, always there. And basically, I want to jump straight into it, Shay, because really and truly, I have this here, my mug, because Harry and Meghan gave us all the tea. Probably the gayest thing I've ever said, to be fair. But anyway, no, Shay, do you know what? Honestly speaking, though, before I even get into anything, what are your thoughts after seeing the interview? What are your initial thoughts and feelings after seeing that interview?
Oh, too many for a quick poddy, but I thought it was a good interview. I expected it to be. I said to you before the interview when we were talking about it earlier in the day that for me, I think the most important thing is that they would be able to share their story and be heard, right? And give the perspective that they've not been allowed to give before. So on that level, it made me. I was really glad to watch it. I spoke to a bunch of people who didn't watch it, who had no intention of because of the way it makes. Before the interview even went out, they were like, "Nope, not going to do it."
Why wouldn't they? What were the reasons they wouldn't watch it?
Well, because there are so many. Because of the link to racism and the link to unconscious bias and the link to it's impossible to watch it without thinking about how it relates to me or to you or to any person of color who has even been discriminated on the tiniest level. So there's that personal element to it. The bigger story obviously is about the firm, the royal family, and their family.
What is the firm? Because I kept saying that. What is the actual firm? What is that like?
The firm is the business of the royal family.
So it's actually called the firm, the business element of that.
I don't know if it's officially called the firm or whether they call it that, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying it's like a gang. When it continue, carry on.
Yeah, but I this is what's funny about it. I like it. I like the term the firm because it tells you exactly what you need to know.
True.
So yeah, but I just felt that this was a positive thing. I then stupidly, and I don't really watch the news, I then went on to watch half an hour of 5 News straight afterwards, or was it ITV News, whichever one, and it peed me right off.
Why?
Because some of the spins they were putting on it just really kind of got my back up, and I wanted to sit.
Pause there. Hold that thought about the news, right? Before we get to that, you literally pause and froze that. Like, basically, yeah. All right, before we get to that, because I want to get that's important. Hold that thought, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, I'm asking you a specific question. Seeing obviously not just Meghan, obviously, but Harry too as well. Emotionally,
Yes.
how did
Do
you?
not get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. I'm feeling it for both of them.
Yeah. So what were your feelings about it emotionally?
Oh, so many feelings again because I think we all know this. I think on some deep, dark level, we've always been aware of the impact of Diana's death on Harry and the way that it's been played out in the media over all these years and the fact that it's still a story and all of that stuff. So I have so much empathy for them and so much. There's a little bit of sympathy there, obviously, because again, we go to the race bit. But I just emotionally it didn't take me on like stark emotions. So I wasn't like, hi, 1 minute, yay. And then like, oh, I'm so sad. There were moments when my eyes pricked with tears. Didn't cry, but there were moments.
What moments are those? We talk about when she mentions the suicide, like
when she was talking about suicide, when she was talking about asking for help and not being heard.
Yeah, that was difficult.
When she was talking about the fact that the Kate story, but again, remember, you know me as a person outside of being a person on your podcast. And as a person, you know that the one thing that I struggle with more than anything is, go on, say it with me.
I don't know. You struggle a lot of things with your special needs.
Okay.
I mean, sorry. no,
Being
no, no, no,
misunderstood.
no. But people are being misunderstood. Oh,
That,
that. Do you know what I'm gonna actually now? I didn't know you were gonna say, but carry on. Yeah, being misunderstood. Yeah.
so that is a huge, huge thing for me. And so being in the midst of what she was in, and then having this story come out that makes her the villain and not being able to do anything about it.
This is your 50% warning.
I'm sorry, that's my phone on charge.
Okay.
Being disempowered, all of those feelings, all of those emotions are things I can recognize, not from being in the same position, but from being in that position in my own life in various ways.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be real with you. So when I first heard that bit, when I first heard it, that bit, I was like, oh, it sounded a bit like the whole story, not typically because Megan said it or whatever, but it sounds like, okay, so we're really gonna go into all of this. Like, she made this person cry, I didn't make her cry, she made me cry, whatever. But I guess the bigger part of play for me was what it then meant that later on down the line, in terms of that was probably the first crack in many things to come. Because I guess because that whole even the fact that it was reported by the tabloids, it was, to me, was all a bit churlish. Like, I'm not minimizing how that made her feel, obviously, but then, like, I guess what exacerbates that is then that's how reported and they're misunderstood, then to be misconstrued and be used to create a negative narrative about her. When if it's not as you said it was, yeah, it's not fair. So yeah, no, I hear you on that. But I kind of cut you. You were saying something before, kind of about being
No,
misunderstood.
I finished. I got to the
Okay,
end.
all right, yeah. So I also to actually touch on what you said actually as well. I also did think it was quite difficult, and definitely in terms of both of them saying they both wanted help. Even if you take away okay, the suicide for me is the like the mad punchline in that sentence, right? But even before that, people leading up asking for help and no one's willing to help her. Even Harry was asking for help. Harry said he felt ashamed to share his wife's feelings about that. Also was yeah, that's mad. That shouldn't be happening. Especially what's ironic about that as well is that aren't they both advocating for mental health and mental well being? Aren't they work mental well being charities? Isn't William the face off? Is it Mind? Something like that. Not Mind. What's the other one? Head. Something to do with heads. Can't remember. Heads up. Isn't it something like that? I think it's that. Right. So yeah. So it's interesting that actually in his own life that was crazy. Even going on to that, interesting about what do you feel about her saying she felt trapped and isolated, and that's what that meant as well. How did that make you kind of feel and react to that as well?
Again, it's something that I've felt in my own life at various times, and I don't think so. For me, the suicide wasn't the punchline. It wasn't the oh, this is where we've landed. Now it's something huge, because I think what lots of people don't understand is that the run up, the suicide is it's the inevitable part.
Yeah.
That's what happens when all of these things are out of your control, and you're being led down this path that you're trying to grasp, frantically, some semblance of control, and you have none.
Yeah.
And so all of the points to that point are things that I heard in her speech and in her story. And I think they were both fantastic in the way they delivered their experience, because it still wasn't shady. It still wasn't really saying, well, yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I like that because it wasn't like they said this, they said that. And I think I'm more inclined to believe them than not because of the way it was delivered. Because they could have really dropped bombs, like in terms of like certain elements. Like we're gonna get to the rate, the obviously the headline about the color of the baby, but I'm talking about they could have, but in the way it was said, and even you could even sense the reticence, even to say even what much more than they were saying in the interview. I was kind of
Absolutely.
yeah, I was
I
really
think that's the right thing.
yeah, yeah. Because to me, and for me, from that, it didn't feel now how it's being portrayed, right? Which we're gonna get there a little bit. I'm gonna touch this. How it's being portrayed in this interview, even if you never watched it, it's like Megan is just there, just to throw completely light a fire under the royal family, do this, do that. And because I also asked this question as well, because I'm trying to be objective here, because obviously I'm not gonna lie, I have my bias, but for obvious reasons, right? But I'm like, you know what? Let me be objective about this. And I was like, when it said, I thought, well, she wasn't getting paid. I thought, why aren't you getting paid for this? Like, if you're not getting paid for this, what is the actual point? Because actually, to be fair to you, let's be real, you have to make a living. You're being cut off financially. Like, you're gonna get all this exposure. Why did you not get paid for it? Now, I'm not gonna. The cynic in me is like, you didn't get paid for this interview. Fair enough, but it does mean we might get paid for something else down the line. So specifically, legally, you didn't get an interview, but that's neither here nor there. But the most important thing for that, I also believe, the cynical part, take that part from silence. Actually, you just want to air your truth, and you've been silent for so long, and actually, there's been so many things written about you. There's actually almost like a catharsis about actually getting your side of the story out there, because everyone's been writing about you saying things and you haven't been able to defend yourself. That is hella frustrating. That is, and that's isolating, and it's almost it's dehumanizing, especially because the nature of the things that are being written about you. So I found that quite interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you will have any further take on that at all. And
It bothers me that it would even be part of the conversation. I understand why it is. It makes complete sense, but it just bothers me because, again, a lot of what I do and a lot of the businesses I've started, a lot of the projects I run are all about making sure that people's voices are heard and finding
yeah,
better ways to
mm,
represent people who have a perspective that is quite often muted.
yeah,
And so for me, the fact that the conversation about, well, are they paid for this interview or not? And does that change my perspective on what I think about this interview based on whether they're paid or not? Again, I understand where it comes from and that it will be a conversation starter for a lot of people. But I feel that it takes away from the straight up authenticity of the fact that they're sitting down, who, they chose Oprah. They didn't just go on like Jerry Springer or something like that. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Do you know what? Right? I agree with you. But that is accusation that will be leveled at her, that she's a
oh
money
no,
grabber.
no,
She say, yeah, yeah,
that's
totally.
exactly what I'm saying.
And yeah, and for me personally, I'm not gonna lie. I personally think they should get paid. I'm like, why not?
Mm.
Like, you're telling your story, your life story, what people want to hear.
But
Why not?
because they know exactly how it will look.
Yeah, of course, and that's ridiculous. Because why shouldn't they? And I'm with you with that. And like, but do you know what? Which is what kind of comes in onto the reaction. But I want to, because the reaction is a massive part of basically of my thing. But before I get to that, because that is my massive takeaway. Before I get to that, I want to say something actually, and like, in terms of, I felt a different sympathy. I think the reason I asked you the question is, like Shay, I think you're very insightful, like very in tune emotionally with people, and I can understand that. And I think they're quite very obvious things that even if, I'm not gonna lie to you, even if you don't even rep like that, you would get it on a basic human level. The reason I said, because I even like you saying suicide is the punchline, because that's like, it's not a punchline, but it's a thing that, oh right, you really need help. But there are points up to that point before there should be intervention, where people should be helped and supported, right? But you know what's interesting for me is that they almost have to justify the fact that I felt trapped and isolated. And if the automatic response would be, oh, well, you're a prince. Oh, well, you have everything you want in the world. And, bruv, I would not trade their life for the world, blood. Like, listen, I don't really care for the roles like that. Like, I'll probably comment that in a second. But, like, but at the same time, it's like, you really break it down. You break down their lives, and people are like, oh, you think I'm happy because I'm smiling in the picture? You think I'm happy because I'm doing these public events and whatever? You think I'm because you had to live your life in the public eye. You can't even do certain things. You had a bit. Look, this for me. Your phone, your keys, your passport are all gone. Yeah, and you can't even go outside. You can't even get Uber with your brethren. You can't even go out to eat because of how things might look. Bun that life. So I genuinely felt not only sorry for Meghan who stepped into that, because some people say, well, she knew what you're getting into. Reaction from people in the street, dumb, in my opinion. When he said he felt trapped, yeah, I was like, yeah, you know what? I hear you, my guy. I hear you. Because many people feel that because you're in a position of privilege, that you can't feel and you can't suffer. What do you think about that?
I think what I always think, two things can be true at the same time. I think you can absolutely be in a position of privilege. You can absolutely acknowledge that, and can also be, privilege isn't just at one level. It's not a hierarchy of privilege and not privilege. There are hierarchies as you go up. So he is
Mm,
also underneath other people who are more privileged or who have more power. Privilege isn't about your position necessarily, it's about the distribution of power. And one of the things he said was that he was born into this. It wasn't something he
he
chose.
chose. Come on.
So, absolutely, in the same way as Meghan, he found himself, and he said their worlds collided. So, in the same way, um, he found himself in the same position. I thought of she mentioned the Little Mermaid, and I was thinking Princess Jasmine. I was thinking all of the Disney movies where the
Of course
prince
you were.
and the princess were like, "Oh, I want to go out and just be normal."
Mm-hmm.
And again, anyone who is surprised by this, anyone in the last 3 or 4 years who has been like, she came, Harry was, good Harry before, and now suddenly, he's been taken away. Anyone who thinks that is a twit twat twat. And that is because he has always been different. He has always,
Yep.
danced to the beat of his own drum. He has always been for the people. He has always been his mother's child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really evident. Um, it's.
Yeah. No,
So
so
I don't remember what I was answering. I'm
no,
sorry.
that's cool. No, you answered it excellently. It's all the wisdom coming from the headscarf is seeping into your cerebral cortex. No, but no, I'm with you on that. All right, cool. Let's jump into it. All right, cool. So racism. Yeah, let's be real. Now I get it. Like this is no. It's like the thing is, it's not. All right, I'm gonna shoot from the hip. I don't care. This is just my opinion. People take from a lever. I don't really care. The thing is, all right. So everyone knows about the comment about how dark your baby's gonna be. Yeah. All the
Yeah.
how they look, right? Not basically, right? Um, that's not a surprise at all. In terms of like, because I've always said this, right? And this is me, and I'm happy to be disagreed with if not. For me, as a black person, even the term pastel color sometimes makes me feel but anyways, me as a black person, right? I don't understand how anyone like who looks like me represents me can particularly really check for the royal family because of the historical connotations of it, of imperialism or colonialism, rephrasing the Commonwealth. The whole element of that for me is like if you do any 5 to 10 minutes of research, it's real quick at the facade that it is. And I don't understand. There's almost like a Stockholm syndrome that some people have. But you know what? Everyone has the right to their own opinion to like what they like personally. That is fine for me. But what is actually ironic to me sometimes is that people are like, oh my gosh, the royal family are racist. Really? Oh, that's a surprise to you. But you know what's also doubly interesting to me, not surprised, but still pisses me off, to be honest, is almost the reaction of like when you shine a light on something, and then people then get really upset. Like you've got Piers Morgan popping off, going off on like Good Morning Britain, which happened this morning, Monday morning. Literally like, oh, this is how dare you call the Queen this, that, and the other, and accuse the Queen of this, that, and the other. How dare they go through this? Like literally going off on it. Like there's a big shock. Like generally, majority of the public, the British public, like, oh, they've never cared for her, massively criticized her, saying that she's calling the whole race card. And it's just like the consistent, perpetuated cycle of basically generally white people when they get uncomfortable, getting defensive, rather than actually learn and use the opportunity to learn. Now, I'm not even trying to weaponize someone's individual experience to make a political, not even a political point, because it's not a political point. It's a simple humanity issue. But to me, it's just again another stark example of this covert institutional racism that exists in this country. And the reason I go back to that, because I'm not going to throw this question at you, Shay, I'm not going to ditch you, but I'm going to say this to you, is that regardless of how you feel about this, whether you for or against, what is interesting is the point you made earlier about the reaction. What was it? What about the reactions irritated you?
So on Channel 5, so there's something that we bust joke about all the time. And I early on in our friendship, when we've known each other for 100 years, but when we actually became individual friends, whatever, I think I must have said to you one time, how you feel about something matters, in the sense of it doesn't matter what the intent was, the impact is the most important thing. At some point, after some point, the impact is what matters. And sorry. And so we use that all the time, and we're like, yeah, how you feel matters. We banter it back and forth as a joke. The person being interviewed on 5 News, he was part of the news team, but he was, basically recapping it. And he said something similar. He was like, well, Meghan and Harry felt that I'm gonna have to paraphrase. I can't remember the actual phrase.
But was it?
They felt that there was racism.
Yeah,
and that really hit me. That was resounding. It was really loud, because he was not only using the how you feel matters in a negative way and weaponizing it. He was basically undoing. He was undoing what they had said. He was basically saying they felt it was, but it wasn't. And he went on to say a couple of other things that kind of felt like he was repeating them, but with a different tone. so
Yeah.
that it can start to,
Diminish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a diminishing. Yeah, let's be real about it. It's a diminishing, and I'll go harder on this. Yeah, it's bullshit because at the end of the day, if you're looking at if you're breaking down every single thing, so I'm reading between the lines here. So I'm not even gonna head to go back and forth on this and that he said this, he said, because no, at the end of the day, I have to keep the same energy. I wasn't there. I don't know. Right. But at the end of the day, is this, yeah. What according to them, Archie's titles, wouldn't get the real official titles, right? That's something that's never happened before. There's mention about the change of conventions, etc., etc. That's never happened before. What's different? What's changed? What's happened? Is a person of color again, who's mixed heritage, of black and white heritages in the family. Now all of a sudden the son can't become this. The whole language around it, the whole way she was treated, the whole negative, the comparison between Kate and her, like. It was very interesting to me that the phrase institution was used persistently throughout the interview, because this is a symbolic of the institution that we face in, day out, and the media interest of that same institution is in the reaction to it. Because one of the reasons I was a bit delayed coming into, because I actually did the same thing. I wanted to see what the media will be, the royal correspondence would be, and they've all kept the same energy. It's like, well, this interview was very self-serving. No one only asked her any difficult questions. Nobody asked her about her father. What's that gonna do with anything? Like nobody asked her about that. So it's all of a sudden you see the machine turning. You see, and we're gonna see that all of a sudden the diminishing of her character to almost like undermine what she said. Now, obviously, they came out as the queen didn't say anything. I'm not labeling any accusations to any individuals. I said I don't know. Like, I'm not here for that. But what I'm saying to you is that this, to me, is another example of one of, on a micro level. It's actually, it's one of those unique opportunities again, where something that's happened on a micro level as an individual exposes what's happening on a macro level subversively. Because there are people out there that genuinely believe that, we talk about racism, that it's an American thing. There's no such thing as racism in the UK.
Well, they believe that it has to be a white cop shooting a black man. That's what racism is. It's not any of the. Listen, I tell you, one of the reasons this made me so emotional, and I'm getting emotional now, actually, but...
Feel your feelings, please.
No, I'm not doing this on this podcast. Is because it got me thinking again about all of the tiny ways. I wrote a post, actually, about it, but again...
Share it, please.
No, in my post, I again code switched. I again made it a general post about voices being heard and blah, 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 blah. But it again reminded me of all the ways, even in, March 2021, all of the ways in which my voice is continually shut down. And I have to balance whether it's because I'm a woman, is it because I'm black, is it because of my age? I have to balance all of those things and be like, I don't want to have to think about, okay, Shae, this might not be a black thing. So if you approach it this way, then... it doesn't look like you're just pulling the race. It's exhausting. And this stuff has been going on. I mean, it's been going on in forever, but I'm talking about in my life personally.
Yeah.
Just recently in the last few weeks, and I'm just like, I'm tired. Okay, let me expose myself a bit. I'm not exposing the thing that I'm going to talk about, but I had my first COVID vaccine. So I've been unwell these last few days. But I had my first COVID vaccine Saturday evening. And there's obviously this narrative that black people aren't having it and they won't be having it. And if it's, if it's down to black people, people are going to die, because it's black people are the majority of the people who are choosing not to do this.
Right? Yeah.
Despite the fact that, and the numbers might be right, but the reason for that is not the fact that we go into a medical institution and we are treated a certain way, or the fact that at the beginning of the first lockdown, AstraZeneca went to Africa to try and use us as guinea pigs. It wasn't any of those things. It's just, you guys will be responsible.
And remember, one more thing, don't forget the disproportionate levels of people who are suffering in our community about that.
Absolutely.
And the report they tried to suppress and took ages to release. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No one's talking about that. Yeah. Okay, cool. No
Absolutely.
Go back, yeah.
And so I got really sick. Now, it's expected, right? In the sense that because I had cancer and whatever, I would also have the flu jab sometimes. And the flu jab would, guess what? Make me sick. So this isn't new. This is to be expected. In fact, they told me about it. And I was like, okay, cool. And And when I got sick and I thought about going into, because I do some work with a company, when I thought about going in, I didn't tell them why I was sick. I just said I was unwell because I didn't then want to be used as their token black person who, look, she took it, you must take it too. I didn't want to be questioned about my reasons for taking it. I didn't want to be discussed as someone like, why are you different? I didn't want to be held. I'm constantly being told how different I am. I don't want to be the exception. I just want to be a black person and be okay with that. And so, again, going back to the interview now, it's that whole feeling of our blackness, our regardless of what your skin tone is. Don't get me wrong, that matters because I'm sure you're going to come onto it. The colorism of it all. Regardless of what tone your skin is, it's the blackness of it all. It's not being able to just sit comfortably in my. This feels uncomfortable, and I'm letting you know it feels uncomfortable. I have to first pre.
You have to package your discomfort in a way that makes the person who's making you uncomfortable more comfortable.
Which means I have to put myself through the trauma first because I have to study it to figure out what all the different outcomes might be.
And this is absolute nonsense. So let me really simplify that real quick. You're punching me in the face, yeah? And I have to stop and factor in and realize, okay, you're punching me in the face, but at the same time, I don't want to hurt your knuckles with my skin. So let me try and talk to you in a way or receive this blow in a way that is more palatable
let me package it even better. You're punching me in the face, and I'm saying, stop punching me, you're hurting me. And then I'm saying, are you punching me because I'm a black woman? And you're saying, why are you calling the race card? And I'm saying, because there's a white woman and a white man on either side of me. You're not punching them. But I still have to check whether you punch me because I'm a black woman or you punch me because you just don't like me. And if you don't like me, is it because I'm a black woman? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
This is our everyday existence.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You're way more tolerant person than I am. I'm done with like dealing with other people's discomfort. Listen, like learn through discomfort, change or don't. Like suffer for it, suffer the consequences in it. Like I'm not saying I'm on some radical thing, but like I feel like too many times like we've had to diminish or make ourselves smaller. And only for people to understand and become so defensive in the issue and not learn. I keep saying this, like it's never going to change. Like in my opinion, I feel like, but I'm not gonna get into all of that now. But like literally, like because of the very fact of the matter is, I tell you why it's never going to change. Because the very fact of the matter is, every time this conversation comes up in some shape or form, generally speaking, you have pockets of people. Bless them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be that are out there that are willing to accept, adapt, and learn. But the majority, unfortunately, and the majority is what you need for there to be systemic and fundamental change. The majority get defensive and shut the conversation down and continue in their ignorance. And it's.
Can I just say?
That's my opinion, by the way. I'm not. Shae doesn't support anything.
No, this is why you need people like me who have been very tolerant of the royal family, and I've even been, very. I've been very. Oh, there's a word I'm looking for. What's the word you're looking for when you're not nostalgic? I can't remember the word I'm looking for.
If a sentimental value or like
a it's on a very superficial level, right?
Yeah, it's logical.
I've always been, but this is why you need people like me, because people like you aren't going to get the job done. I tell you why. Your exact position, you have every right to be in. Right, everything you've just said, I actually agree with, and I actually support your reason for being there. But the people we're talking about are not going to. They will be. The people who stormed the Capitol. Those people are not going to be educated or engage with people like you. And I'm not talking people like you, black man, whatever. I'm talking about people who are like, I'm not doing this dance with you anymore. Those people, right? I don't want to expose people, so I'm not going to say. There's another incident that happened just tonight that literally punctuates this point so well. But basically, if I wasn't able to, at the end of a post, say, actually, I've always been a bit of a fan of the royal family as a I'm quite proud to be British generally, because again, let's not go back to that podcast where we were like, what does being British mean? But I've always been quite proud to be British. I have to come from somewhere. I wasn't born in Jamaica. That's my heritage. I love it, whatever. But I was able to say at the end of a point, because he wanted to bring up the point that, well, as as it's International Women's Day, I know it's going to be controversial, but actually, I want to raise up the Queen then, because with all the stuff that's been said out there about her, blah, 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 blah. And my post was very much, my response to that post was very much, well, no, absolutely, she's a woman, she can be revered. However, we need to be, when we're in a position of leadership and power and whatever, we have to be mindful of where we're leading people and the power that we have to change things and whatever. And I was able to then punctuate it, like I said, with the, and I've always been a bit of a fan of the royal family. I was going to marry William one day, in that kind of thing. So I just think people who are sympathetic to them are really important. And what I mean by that, I don't mean sympathetic in as much as, oh, we must let them get away with it. This is not what I'm saying. Do not twist my words. Do not misunderstand me. Whether it's you, whether it's you or whether it's the people listening, don't misunderstand me. I actually, I think the fact that Harry sat there and said, but they are trapped too, spoke volumes to me. That they don't understand their trap, that they are, they are doing what they think is right or whatever. That should not be minimized or belittled.
No, I agree. No, I agree with that. I think I totally agree with that element. I'm not going to take over. I think I have to be. I respectfully agree and disagree with some of what you just said, which is fine. Like, it's quite a conversation. Like, in terms of, I'll tell you what I disagree with. I agree with that part there, that you should sympathize with elements of. I think I alluded to that already. They are trapped in a bubble and they also have their own existence, and I understand that. I sympathize with that. I really do. I can't empathize because I haven't got that kind of wealth. And if I did, but actually, I wouldn't even want it. So, real talk, I wouldn't even want that. Where I disagree with you is, I understand ultimately where you are as a human being. And I think we'll fundamentally disagree because this is a disagreement of ideologies, and that's fine because different people make up the world, and the tapestry of humanity is about different people. So I respect that. But what I disagree fundamentally on is takes people like me to get things done in terms of like people like, I'm tired of this conversation now. Like, real talk, it's it for me. You're not.
No, I didn't say that. Not get things done. I said.
Okay, so let me be clear. If I say I disagree with something, so I'm not quoting you wrong. What bit of what I said you disagreed with? Because
just that I'm talking about getting things done. I think people
like you, who are more sympathetic to people with those views, right?
No, I'm just talking about who they will listen to. I'm not talking about getting.
Okay, no, that's fine.
We get things done.
Oh, no, okay.
Absolutely will.
No. I'm not going to cut you this. No, I'm glad you clarified that. I agree with you. So my point is actually disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with you. Do you know what? You're optimistic, and I agree with that. And I think and I appreciate it. And do you know, sometimes.
No, can I just? Sorry, I just want to add. And I know I keep cutting you. Yeah. I'm not optimistic because I actually don't think it will change. So I know what I said sounds like it will.
But then again, can we come back to you? Then we'll talk. Then what is the actual point? Like, I'm saying this to you passionately, not because I'm having a go. I'm saying because you know what I'm going, bro. You know it is, love and thing. But what is the actual effing point? Because at the end of the day, we have these conversations, we go back and forth, we do it all again, we play ourselves, diminish ourselves. Do you know what? Ultimately, what is the point? Like, we are wasting our time. Not so we give up on humanity in general, but what I'm saying to you is, I'm not in the place now where I feel like I have to go out there and be like apologetically black or like this, that, and the other on this, or feel how received. If you want to learn, you will come to me with a conversation. I will sit down, I will break bread with you, yeah. But if you're gonna be stupid, I ain't got time to make you feel comfortable. I ain't got that kind of time. Like, so to me, it's investing what I can do on the micro and the macro level is that, but I ain't got time to be like, oh well, the people that storm the Capitol are not gonna change. Them people there is nothing that will change their minds, yeah. But you know what? Bar Jesus, yeah, real talk. There's nothing a man can do with that level of hatred and ignorance in your heart. Ignorance is real and it's deep rooted, yeah, and it can only change if you're willing to. Do you know what? I say this thing, it's a simple phrase. You can bring a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink, yeah. So I can show you that there's a life, abundance, prosperity in that glass only if you drink it. But if you don't drink the glass, I can't make you. I can maybe try and force feed you, blood, but you won't digest. You can spit it out. So ultimately, people want to be because they choose to be this way. They will see something. What is, you know what never ceases to amaze me? This, I think, and I try to not do this myself. Yeah, is that someone will look at something like this situation, right, and they'll see it, and they will willfully choose to have a perspective on that, which is their right, by the way. As much as I don't like it, is their right. But you cannot change that. You cannot change someone coming up to me and telling me, this is my lived experience. And you can say to me, you're just calling the way. How dare you, blood eye? Real talk. And let me do this on a simple level. I made this conversation the other day. Yeah? I'm a man, yeah. I can say to you, I walk down the street and I feel safe. You at nighttime and I feel okay. You woman said, you know what, yeah, I walk down the street and I feel a bit concerned, like for my own safety. I'm a 6 foot something for man, woman, and women are still powerful. You're wonderful, but obviously there is different levels of risk assessment. Yeah, please, I'm not trying to focus on that point. But what I'm trying to say to you is, who am I to tell you how you feel unsafe in that position? How dare you come to me and tell me what racism is? Are you mad? What kind of vanilla ISIS movement is that? And that is I consistently see on a daily basis in comments and things on like I'm not here for this caucasity, man. I'm not here for it. I really am not.
Vanilla ISIS.
Yeah, blood. Listen, I'm not here for it. I really am not. And I'm telling you right now, this is not me saying I'll bun everyone. I'm saying if you're willing to, I'll break bread and we'll have a conversation. Yeah, but if you was going to be living in ignorance, I ain't got time for you in it. Because you're choosing to stay there, and this I'm not trying to weaponize.
And this is the thing, no, because everything you're hearing is saying I hear, and the thing is, they will hear you, and they will say you're choosing violence, but they're choosing violence.
Listen, and the maddest thing is, I'm not trying to get in this. Like, listen, I know we'll talk about. I've been talking to people who burn sage and give me Islamic scrolls and Hebrew scrolls to read and thing recently. But I'm saying to you this, yeah. The maddest thing is, yeah. I haven't done this. I'm not on about releasing the podcast about this because basically the biggest thing they have here, in my opinion, right, is the fact that we might mobilize. And actually, I think deep rooted is the fear that we might actually do to them what they've done to us. The biggest thing is they accuse us of the very things historically speaking, yeah. But that's another whole podcast because I have to grow dreads and I have to wear kente cloth for that podcast, right? But I'm saying to you, the biggest thing is, you might be violent, bro. The biggest perpetuators of violence has been. And I got to say it, do your history in it, yeah? Colonization is what? You don't go there and break bread and make, oh, you know what? Let's trade. Nah, bro, it's born of violence and bloodshed, yeah? So it's mad. But you know what? I'm not even going to go into that because I'll go off and it's a mad thing. I'll say this, yeah, because actually I saw this and I thought, you know what? Let me drop this bar. Let's salute the Queen because it was a woman, International Women's Day. That's right. I'm here for the DMs to support. But check it. No, we'll talk though. I'm not even joking around like that. I'm a bit triggered still. Let me show you this. I thought this was wicked. Can you see? And it's by the way, Queen. I didn't want to block your face off from the screen, Queen. By the way, but I just want you to read this.
Meghan was the Crown's greatest opportunity for change, regeneration, and reconciliation in a new era. They didn't just maltreat her light; they missed out. They missed out on it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Mad.
No, sorry. No, I was trying to understand what they meant by the light. Sorry.
Yeah, this is not colorism, but literally like in terms of what she represents. And in terms of, for me, that is powerful because like, regardless of what you think of wherefore this one, whether you like or not, right? That was an opportunity. And Meghan said something interesting. She said, well, let's go with this thing. I'm not going to get back and forth. Let's go with the Commonwealth thing. Yeah, it exists, yeah? The Commonwealth is representative of how many different countries. Guess what? Some of them aren't white. So really and truly, having someone who's like that going around these countries, look at that is an opportunity to branch out and to evolve into a very archaic institution. Yeah, look how they have treated her. Yeah, and not so. You know what? I'm telling you, I'm gonna be very clever. So I'm not speaking this at the Crown. I'm speaking about how the country, how the media, how the tabloids. Because really and truly, I can't comment on personal relationships. I can only comment on what I know. And look how. And to me, it's disgusting. And we miss opportunity. And then to even speak against that, it's mad.
You know what though? If we take colour out of it, every single thing that's happened is still atrocious. Because if you take colour out of it, what do we have? Diana.
Yep.
Like literally, the color is just the thing that makes this all so much worse. The color is the thing that the baby Archie, all of that stuff that just takes it into the dungeons.
Yeah.
But it was bad anyway.
It was
she's
bad
an
anyway.
outsider. She's an American. All of those things, the way they intersect to make her feel othered was always going to be problematic. And nobody thought to outside of Harry, who didn't know at the time, he's still learning stuff. Nobody thought to have her back. Nobody in the institution if that was me and that was my business, I would have onboarded her. Like I would have been like, right, this is what we need to do. Because it makes everything look good. On the very basic level of PR, They should have had that sorted.
They had no interest, man. They didn't like her, man. They didn't like Diana because Diana liked jollof and jerk chicken. They didn't like her then. They didn't like Meghan, like whatever. Do you know? We know what it is, isn't it? Like, and the thing is, do you know what? And I'll say this, and I know you're not saying this. I know you're not saying this. I'm saying this in generally. I don't want to take race out of it because race is very much a part of it.
No.
No. I'm not saying. I am not saying you're saying that. No.
Yes, I know you're not. I'm jumping on it. I'm that passionate about it.
Yeah.
No, let's not. I wanted to take it out for that moment, just so that we know.
The behavior on its own is disgusting.
Let's bring race back into it right now. Let's talk about colorism.
Because I tell you what, I'll tell you why though. I'll tell you why race is an element. Because you know what else probably didn't like Diana? Because that's what Diana. There's rumors. I don't know. Again, you probably know more than me on this. But there's rumors that she was dating an Arab, right? An Arab guy, right? Or she had a relationship with somebody who was. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So even that's going to play a part. And how dare she cheat on Charles? Even though Charles can run around and do his own thing on the side, right? But she just wants to. Come on, let's. That's what I'm saying to you. I think. Do you know what? In conversations, we can never take race out because you know what? Race is always a factor. Like. To me, it's race, class, whatever. But race to me is just another coder for class. Be under no mistake, yeah. Britain and its covert, gentlemanly codified racism is very much true and alive. If you are out there and you still think racism to you looks like a black man getting shot in the street by a police officer, you're dumb, yeah. We got some real silent killers of racism, like we got some mad, some mad gas chamber racism and
there's something. Jamelia said this today online.
Yes, she says I'm on point today. Yeah.
Yeah, she said casual, indirect, direct, covert, overt, blatant, obvious, accidental, intentional, generational. Put whatever word you want in front of the word racism. Doesn't change what it is. Racism is racism. Jeez, Lord, don't let these Twitter fingers of mine loose today. Bruh, I was like all of that.
And can I compound that because there's been loads of. By the way, big up to Dr. Charlotte who bodied Piers, bodied Piers today. But one thing I'll say, another thing is that, do you know what? But interesting, another morning show, I can't remember what it was now. I think Loose Women.
Yeah.
Normally I would like a show called Loose Women, but I didn't like it today. Basically, right? Literally, there was a woman said, "Oh well, you know,"
she said, maybe it could have just been a casually racist comment.
Oh, just like a casual racist comment, and I was like, I was like, that's okay then, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, it's only a little bit of a big walk.
No, you're right.
Did she think she was gonna get a pat on the back for that and a rich tea biscuit? Get out of here, man. Anyway, listen. At the end of the day,
see the way that the press portrayed the black news anchor, the black host, calling her out on it.
What did they say? Angry black woman again, right?
Okay, so they basically said Charlene White makes dig at Loose Women co-star Jane Moore for being okay with casual racism. So did you hear who the perpetrator was in that?
Do you know what? You know what? All I'm saying is to my people, like, listen, to stay safe in these vanilla lands, boy, because they don't like us. But I was
going to say, don't wrap up before we discuss colorism.
What colorism? Okay, go on. What do you want to say about colorism? Other than like, I don't know. I mean, go on, talk to me. What's your perspective? What do you want to say?
No, I just want to talk about the fact that. So obviously, I know you were waiting to bring up the Archie. Will he be black? Will he be blue? All of that stuff. But more than that, I think it highlights something that is so real in society and in our culture and in even within our own cultures today, right? And that is the fact that if a mixed race, quite fair, quite beautiful, depending on who's looking at her, I think she's beautiful, woman is experiencing some sort of colorism, imagine how bad it really is for all of us who can't hide away our afro hair and can't change the color of our skin. And I was having conversations with people this week about the whole, when the Archie thing came out, will he be dark? And there were lots of people who were surprised by it, and I was like, I'm not surprised. And they're like, why are you not surprised? My thing is, this is something I see on a daily basis. With my friends, with my family, with me compared to people who are much fairer than me. And so people are like, Shae, don't be silly, you're quite fair. And I'm like, but I also have experience. Oh no, I'm not, because I'm not the light skinned one. I'm in a really weird place in terms of my color, my skin color. My body's actually fairer than my face. And so it's like, no, the light skinned one. And I know my best friend experiences stuff like that, and she's darker and beautiful, but also
Shout
people
out
are
to
like,
Black Champagne. Go on, Karen.
but also people are like, people are dumb, even within our own culture, even within
Yeah,
our
but
own.
you know what? I will back. So now I'm gonna go back to that. So yeah, do you know what? I didn't excuse it, but then again, this I'm saying to you, like, I'm not trying to listen. Listen, I'm apologizing. Listen, where does that come from? Yeah, like if you go back historically, where does that issue come from? The issue comes from historically, light skinned black people worked in the house, dark skinned black people worked in the fields, right? That systemic trauma that comes through generations comes from somewhere. Well, obviously we have to fight that within ourselves. That's also education, like ignorance. And I can't blame that on the slave drivers from centuries ago, but at the same time, that comes from somewhere. That
Mhm.
comes from apartheid and the comb test, where if your hair, or the pencil test if your hair sticks in your head, that comes from somewhere. So I'm not saying we should continue. We have to do better as a culture and take accountability for that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, can't ignore the root cause of where that came from. But kind of,
No, but it's, what it is, D. It's because the root cause hasn't died. So we
yeah,
keep throwing it back to rape. We keep throwing it back to slavery. We keep talking about where it comes from, and people who don't get it or want us to be over it keep saying that was how many millions of years ago. You need to get over it, but it isn't. It's because in 2014, my godchild had to cut his hair because it wasn't suitable for school. It's
come
because in
on.
2017, like, it's not actually. I know we're flinging things back to slavery, but we're still living this stuff,
No,
and
no,
that's,
no, I know, I,
exactly
no, I
why.
agree. I agree with you. So
Yeah.
it starts from then, but it manifests in different ways. I'll flip it. I'll give you an example. So it might have been over as house and field, but let's flip it.
Mhm.
If you're a girl in the media industry and you're light skinned, you're gonna get a better ride than a girl who's dark skinned. I remember, I think I released an article, not released an article. I showed an article basically about black women who are in the music industry and how basically light ones are better received. Other ones, in fact, there's a clip that went viral a couple, maybe like about a month ago, when there's a fair skinned girl who's singing's trash, yeah. And
Hmm.
compared to a black girl who's singing on Rick Ross's thing,
Yeah,
it's
I
much
follow
better.
her now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and she got dashed, but the light skinned girl did well. Now, obviously, I'm saying to you, we have to do. There's education on both ends, yeah. But the root is that, and it manifests in certain ways. Like it's mad, and in terms of like what the aggressive black man will look like, will be someone who looks like me. Do you know what I mean? And like, as opposed to women that are seen as attractive will be fairer skinned, and like there's a colorism element, and some of that thinking creeps into our own community, and we end up disenfranchising our own for that very reason. It's just not on. And to a certain degree, I have to keep the same energy. Meghan, I'm hearing, I don't know, I haven't done my research on this, but I'm hearing Meghan wasn't really too keen on being considered black or whatever back in the day. I don't know if that's true or not. People can do the research on that, but obviously now they're gonna realize that you're a Negro, love. Like,
You see, my thing about it is I hate that narrative, and I don't know if it's true or not. And I never want to comment on it in case
yeah.
it's not true, because it's too damaging if it's not true. If it's true, then obviously she's.
No,
I
not really.
feel like,
It's not damaging if it is, but you know why? It's because people can grow and change. So maybe she,
right. So this is
yeah,
what I was about to
yeah,
say. That actually, even then she's grown. I still think it's damaging. I tell you why. Because she's fighting so many other battles, and to add that one to it is quite a big one, right?
yeah. No, I don't want to add on to it. I just think I'm talking about it.
No, no, not you, not
Yeah,
you. The fact that it's out there.
yeah, good, of course.
No,
But then
we're
ultimately,
having it. No, it's never going to be that here, because we're
yeah,
able to discuss it and go back and forth.
yeah,
There are
of course.
people who just take it and believe it and run with it,
But then, to
and
be fair, do you know what I'll say to her though? But I seen her mum in it, and her mum
and
enjoyed.
that's what I was coming to.
I'm here for
The
that.
fact
So
is, I don't believe that I don't believe she can have a mum who is that rich in tone and that, in terms of being a black woman,
identify,
and
yeah,
be like, oh no, like her mum was there for her dad. This makes no sense to me, and I'm
yeah.
not. It doesn't mean
I'm
that
know.
she
I'm so
is.
happy. I want to be real. I'm so happy it was the other way around. I don't care. I'm so happy it was the other way around. Shoot me in it. Say something in it. Say something in
No,
it.
it makes
All
sense.
right,
It
cool.
makes
Yeah,
sense. We
yeah. So
know. I don't
yeah.
think everyone can understand your comments.
No, we know. We know what it is. I had to go into any deeper than that. But yeah. But no, like, so no, I'm with you on that. But no, but the colorism thing is, and I think, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, you know what? Vanilla Ice is always gonna terrorize, isn't it? Let's leave them there. Yeah, I'll be real. They're always gonna do that. But I'll focus on our community for a minute, and I've just saying we have to be better. Yeah, like, we have to be better. We can't have guys. I've got someone who I knew off, who goes on radio, who went on LBC radio and said, "Oh, I don't find black women attractive. They're dark skinned, this, that, and the other, red hair." bro, take a seat. If you like what you like, cool. Don't go on platforms and spew your nonsense in it, because
That's
that's
all.
damaging. Yeah, because you think that that's that, and you know what? I don't care. That's coonery to the highest degree, because you're disregarding, disrespecting black women. What does your mum and your auntie look like? What does
Thing
your
is, you
sister?
can, like you say, you can have your preference, but
Yeah,
you're then giving other people license to do so.
yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do that, man. I'm not gonna go and shout what my preferences are, because I'm a hoe. I like everything. But at the same time, not joking. At the same time, like, no, all joking aside, like, it's not for that, and like, it's embarrassing, man. Like, do you know what I mean? But do you know what? Do you know what? I just want to say, International Women's Day. Shout out to all the queens, all the women, and queens of all people. And when I say queens, I mean obviously a special shout out to the sisters, but also to people who are willing to learn, grow, and progress and see who they are in it. Yeah, and it's like, all this talking has got me tired. I want to go to bed because I'm vexed. But but honestly, no, it was good to chop it up with you, and you look glorious in your headscarf. And listen, bring the headscarf back for the next episode. You get me? Yeah, Shay. Listen, don't frown. Let your crown shine high. Good night, everyone. Gonna take my medication now. Yeesh.